Ah yes, cereal box prizes. They've been around for quite some time and still exist in the cereal boxes of today, even if a lot of the tangible prizes have been replaced with download or scan codes of some sort. Prior to this shift of digital changing the scene, you would find all sorts of stuff in your cereal boxes. Toys, spoons, bowls, you name it. As long as they were cheaply made and easily mass-produced, it was gonna be in there. You know what else is cheaply made and easily mass-produced? Compact discs, the vehicle that once held our beloved medium of video games. There was a few-year point in history, from the mid-1990s to the early 2000s, where getting a full retail PC game out of your cereal box wasn't super uncommon, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on today in the video. There were two major players involved in this, Kellogg's and General Mills. What makes things confusing is that the games made available would differ depending on your region. I couldn't find a whole lot of stuff released in the US for Kellogg's, but based on my research, Australia made out like a bandit. Some amazing PC games squeezed their way into their cereal boxes over there, such as Age of Empires 1 and 2, as well as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. These are such high-profile games that I honestly don't want to spend too much time talking about them, as you're probably already familiar with these titles, so most of the video is going to focus on what General Mills put out instead. In terms of sheer quantity, General Mills definitely had the most games that they'd given away in the cereal boxes, at least stateside. This can mostly be attributed to their partnership with Hasbro Interactive, a subsidiary of Hasbro, one of the largest toy companies in the world. This relationship allowed them to include games based off of Hasbro's popular board game properties, like Monopoly and Candyland, and also based off of some of Hasbro's more popular toy products, like Tonka. I think this image from user JP Muldoon on Reddit gives a good sampling as to the quality of some of these Hasbro Interactive games. B or C tier games that have been largely replaced by mobile gaming of today. Let's take a closer dive into some of these free General Mills games at random. And by random, I mean the ones I was actually able to get working on my computer. Starting with Sorry, based on the family board game of the same name. I was never able to get this running on my computer as a kid, so I was stoked when I actually got this working on my current computer. The only bad news is, I have no idea how to play. You draw cards that determine how many spaces you're allowed to move. Then, select which of your colored pieces you actually want to push forward. That part makes sense to me, but I didn't actually read the manual, so I don't know what my end goal is here. The game has some pretty gnarly transition sequences when you move a piece, though. They almost look like an advertisement for a graphics card or DirectX or something like that. Moving long distances may have your piece pole vault forward or grow wings, but moving shorter distances will have them just meekly skirt on by. If you land on another piece, there are also some cool combat animations, like having one piece suplex another, duel with swords, shoot arrows at each other, etc. The game's probably more fun with friends, so I think I've seen enough here. On to the game of life. So you start out by picking your character and what card color you want. I think I'll pick this guy here. Let's take a look at some of our stats, shall we? Bank loans $0? Man, I like this game. I couldn't get much past the start screen on this game, however, because there looks to be a technical error of some sort that I was getting. I spin the spinner to start my turn, and nothing happens. I even read up on the game's in-game help section, but nothing. I think I'm done with this one too. Do you want to quit the game of life? Don't mock me, game. That's a question I ask myself every day. Yes. Now, not every game you got in General Mills cereal was mediocre. Hasbro Interactive was responsible for putting out at least one pretty important game of the era. That's right, Roller Coaster Tycoon. The full game. Yes, that Roller Coaster Tycoon. Man, I can't believe they literally gave this away. Roller Coaster Tycoon is one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, spawning multiple sequels, expansion packs, and spin-offs. I think this game falls into the same boat as a lot of those Kellogg's games I mentioned before, in that, let's be real, you already know everything about this game. I'm just going to play a few minutes here to get some footage. what have I done? So it's pretty clear that a lot of the games you can get in your cereal box covered a wide range in terms of quality. But I think it's time for a change of pace. All the games I've covered so far have been existing games that were put into cereal boxes. The next level, and the real meat and potatoes of this video, are the games made specifically for the cereal boxes. How can I start anywhere but Chex Quest? Chex Quest was the game that started this whole PC games and cereal box phenomenon in the first place. It's a total conversion mod of Doom, released in 1996, and a pretty decent one at that. You play as the Chex Warrior, a knight who dons a piece of Chex cereal as his armor in order to defend against the attacks of these green ooze monsters, all while getting a balanced breakfast. You walk around and collect different colored keys to open up hidden passageways, collect more health and ammo, and of course gather new weapons. There's pretty good weapon variety here too, and this game is definitely going to be familiar to anyone who's played the original Doom. Any criticisms that I have of this game could probably be complaints leveled against Doom as well. I played Chex Quest for far longer than I anticipated. It's actually quite good, all things considered. It was even popular enough to get 2 direct sequels with Chex Quest 2 and 3. These ones ended up being browser releases rather than CDs packaged with the cereal though. Now, next up is the game that inspired me to make this video in the first place. Although Chex Quest was of course made specifically for Chex cereal, it was developed and published outside of the General Mills company. This game, however, Captain Crunch's Crunchling Adventure, was published in-house by the owner of the cereal, Quaker Oats. Yup, that's right, take a look at that publisher there. This game is wild. It's all about creating your own Crunchling and leveling him up by feeding him Captain Crunch cereal. Man, how come no matter which color I pick, this thing looks downright disturbing? Alright, now that he's made, let's get him all fed. You can pick between 3 different flavors of Captain Crunch. I don't think there's a difference between any of the flavors in game, but you gotta make sure your Crunchling is well fed before you go out and do one of the game's 3 mini-games to increase your statistics. Once you get full stats, you can challenge the Crunchling Thief to save the delicious taste of Captain Crunch for children everywhere. Alright, let's do one of these mini-games and see how much stats we get.
Way to go! Don't worry, little critter. You may not be as fast as that turtle yet, but you're getting there. Just keep practicing, and you'll beat him in no time.
This is gonna take a while. Well, might as well go into some of the details on what these minigames actually are. But I think I'll let the captain help me explain.
This is Backwardia. Anything can happen in this crazy place, but it always happens backwards. You're going to race against this turtle on your skateboard, and you'll need to jump over all of the things in your way.
So we have Backwardica here, where everything is backwards and we have to skate against this turtle while avoiding obstacles and, of course, collecting Captain Crunch cereal. What's funny is that the Gatorade advertisement in the back here isn't backwards like everything else. I get how we gotta stay on brand here, but why put the ad in the only place in the game where everything's supposed to be backwards? The next minigame has us going to...
All aboard my Jurassic car for a voyage to the time when the Crunchosaurus ruled the Earth. We're going to do some throwing practice.
In this one, you throw these little rocks up to hit the boulders flying out of the volcanoes. There's not much to say about this one, except for the fact that the Crunchosaurus looking on in the background creeps me out. And lastly,
welcome to Computica. Here you'll practice jumping as you make your way up these memory platforms to reach the top.
Here in Computica, you have to scale this tower while collecting Captain Crunch. It's easier than it looks. These spikes on the bottom of the computer chips don't actually hurt you or anything like that. They're just there for show. You also gotta make sure your little Crunchling is happy in between minigames. I couldn't figure out how to do that for quite a while, and now that I find the answer, I'm pretty disturbed. At certain points along your journey, your stat increases will correspond with a growth spurt that increases the size of your Crunchling and making the minigames slightly more challenging. By the end of the game, your Crunchling is a 6'5" bodybuilder ready to beat the crap out of this Crunch Thief. The final challenge will be a random challenge to accentuate one of the skills you've been training on. In my case, I have to scale this mountain with my jumping skill. Look, I don't mean to be nitpicky because I get that Quaker Oats hasn't had much video game experience prior to this, but maybe the final challenge should have been a triathlon that made use of all the skills that you've been training on to this point. Maybe? Well, I think that about covers Crunchling Adventure. I think the only other noteworthy part of this game is the AOL free trial button on this screen. Talk about a throwback. Now, there are two other games I want to briefly talk about before this video ends, even if I sadly don't have footage of either. The first game is called Mission Kellogg's, or Mission Nutrition in Europe. It was a 2D platformer where you play as Tony the Tiger and friends while collecting Frosted Flakes. It looks about as bad as it sounds. And lastly, probably one of the most surprising games on the list, Millsberry. Millsberry was an MMO produced by the General Mills Company in 2004, where you created your own character and made friends in a shared world. I definitely had a character at some point on this game, but now that it's been offline for about 8 years, I can't really go into a whole lot of detail. Here's a screenshot I found on the game's Wikia page that showed what the in-game newspaper looked like, just so you can get a glimpse. Well guys, I think that goes over about everything I want to show you in regards to free cereal box games. Do you have a favorite free PC game you got inside of a cereal box? Please let me know in the comments below, and also feel free to like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed what you saw.